Hello beautiful warriors, it is me Caitlin Parker and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I celebrate 13 years of being a PAH warrior, and I don't know how this video is going to go. I've debated so many times whether or not I was going to post something or not, but I did ultimately decide that I did want to post something just because I really want to keep this as a video diary and talk about how I feel and kind of how my year has been and my journey with PH. As of right now, I am really struggling, and I think that I'm just going to use today's video just to kind of help me talk about things, help me explain to you guys what's kind of going on in my mind, how my PAH journey is going, because right now it is not going very good. It's just going to be a sit down and chat with you guys because there's some things I just want to discuss. You know, I have 13 years worth of insight and worth of things to talk about, and I kind of just want to mainly focus on this year. So this year and 2015 have been the ultimate hardest years of my life, and so I kind of just wanted to discuss that and compare those two, because right now I'm kind of in the same mental place as I was in 2015, and I know I shouldn't be at that place. So I think that today I just want to sit down and talk to you guys just about how I feel and kind of how my year's been, how my 13th year of living with PAH has been going. I did also want to make this video kind of a PAH awareness video. I think that it's important to spread my message and to spread my journey with it, just to help others and to help myself too, just to realize how far along I've come. This is a part of my life, and I want to share it with you guys. So without further ado, let's get straight onto today's video. I wanted to start off today's video by sharing a note that I posted last year for my anniversary, and so I want to read it to you guys now because I think that this kind of sums up how my life has been the last 13 years. And so it says, PAH post, 12 years as a PAH fighter, because last year of course it was 12, now this year it's 13. And the note says, today I both celebrate all of the things I have overcome and grieve all of the things I have lost due to my pulmonary hypertension. And then I just have little bullet mark points, so I'm just going to read that. It says, at age 8, I was life flighted to Denver's Children's Hospital and was diagnosed with pulmonary arterial hypertension. At age 10, I had to start sleeping with oxygen at night, and I still do today. At age 13, I was told I would never be able to have my own children because of all the medication I need to take. At age 13, I started self-harming by pulling out my hair to deal with my emotions, and I still do today. At age 14, I had to give up the sports I loved because I could no longer play competitive sports. At age 15, I woke up from a heart cath only to realize that I've gotten much worse and need to switch medication, and that's when I got my IV pump. At age 17, I was granted my Make-A-Wish trip to Hawaii, which was the best thing ever. At age 18, I was so severely depressed, I stopped taking my medication, turned off my IV pump in an attempt to end my life. At age 19, I got my handicap sticker. At age 20, still struggling every day to cope with my disease. At age 21, which is where I'm at right now, I passed out twice in under 2 weeks. I had heart surgery to place a small hole in my heart. I got a wheelchair, and I got a portable oxygen concentrator. So that's kind of where I wanted to leave it and where I wanted to begin it. So in the beginning, I said that it was age 15 and age 21 that were the worst years of my life. But as I was going through those notes, it was actually age 18 and then age 21, because as many of you guys know, that my IV pump was pretty miserable for me. I can't explain it much about how miserable my life was. Just the quality of my life. I was just in such a bad place mentally. I was in such a bad place physically. I didn't know what else to do. And so I did end up just taking out my pump because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live. I don't want to fight anymore. And so I did take out my pump, and about 6 months later, things started to get a lot better for me. I was just kind of accepting my new life. I'm like, I know that I'll probably get worse faster, but in all reality, this is so much better than being in the IV pump and just being in pain and just being in physically and mentally pain every single day. And so I got off that, and life was good for a couple of years. And then I honestly, age 19 and 20, nothing really big happened. So I can't really say much about it. Nothing really changed. I mean, I was slowly progressing and getting worse. I didn't really have any major issues. That was just a little backstory into my PAH, and this is why I hate doing sit down videos, because I just constantly repeat myself. I don't know what to say, and I don't know. It's just hard. So I'm gonna keep on trying to get this moving. So now I just really want to talk about 2021. I really wanted to focus this video on this year, and I know that it's not over, but I've had pretty dramatic life changes, and so I just kind of want to talk about them and tell you guys how they affected me. So I wanted to start off by saying that 2021, the beginning, was pretty much normal. Everything was going okay until the summer. And in the summer, that's kind of when I started to realize like how bad I was getting, but I didn't really think much of it, just because I'm like, I know that I'm gonna get worse. So I don't know, summer months, like, it's really hard because that's kind of really when it really hits me, because I want to go do all of these summer fun things, but I really can't because I can't breathe. So like, I can't surf, I can't really go out in the heat. I have a lot of, not heat strokes, but the heat does affect me, so it's really hard to go out and do things. I want to begin at May 31st because that is the first time I passed out, and that was really traumatic for me, actually. I had just finished delivering a pizza to the person. I was at their door. I was walking back to my car, and I was really out of breath, but I'm like, oh, I can make it to my car. Like, I've been this out of breath before. I just need to drop the pizza bag in my car, and I'm just gonna sit in there for a few minutes. And then the moments leading up to it, I just remember that I was just super out of breath, and then all of a sudden I was passed out on the concrete. I know that I hit my face on the concrete. There was a little scratching and things, but I don't honestly remember things. I passed out. Obviously, you're not going to remember something. I remember being woken up by the neighbor, and it was this little girl, and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was really confused because I didn't understand what had happened, because I've never passed out before. So I didn't know that feeling, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, I was just really confused. And so I just sat there for a few seconds. I'm like, what just happened? And then I finally realized, I'm like, oh my God, I just passed out. And so then I got into my car and I drove maybe 50 feet, just like to the end of the road. And then I stopped my vehicle and I started like having a panic attack. That's what my mom told me. Like, I was starting to hyperventilate. That's probably not how you say it, but I was like really breathing. I was crying so hard. I was like trying to catch my breath because I was just like panicking. Like, that has never happened to me before. So it was just so scary. And so I called my mom and dad, and I'm like, hey Mom, I just passed out. Like, I need you to come and get me. They were coming in from my grandma's house, so they were probably about 20 minutes away. So I just sat in my car like hysterically crying and trying to catch my breath for that 20 minutes. I finally calmed down, and then as soon as I saw my parents, it started up again. Like, I started bawling my eyes out. And I couldn't even tell them what happened. I mean, I just couldn't, like, the words just weren't coming out. I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't catch my breath. So my dad had carried me from my car to his truck, and I finally calmed down. I was still like teary, kind of how I am right now, but I was able to speak. So I told them what happened. I called my manager and told them, which honestly, it was my last delivery of the day because of the timing. So I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go take that delivery real quick. I'll come back, I'll get clocked out. But I called her and I was like, hey Brandy, I just passed out. I'm not coming back. My brother will come bring the bag. Will you clock me out? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. My parents were driving me to my apartment, and I was on the phone with Children's Hospital. It wasn't Jess, but it was somebody there. And they asked me if I had thrown up, and I said no, but I explained what happened. I told them that I had passed out and fainted. And they're like, okay, well, you might want to go to the hospital, like, if you're throwing up, because you might have a mild concussion. They said, like, if you throw up, you have to go, but if you don't throw up, you don't have to go. And so we were close to my house, and I started getting really nauseous, and I told my dad to pull over. I'm like, pull over, I'm going to throw up. So we pulled over to the side of the road. I threw up, and then that's when we went to the Wyoming Medical Center and I got checked out. I hit my knee, so I got a head scan. They checked out, I got a scan of my knee because just for like workman's compensation, I wanted to get that. Then I just sat there for probably like maybe an hour. It wasn't very long. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of fine, just to get me back to normal. And then my parents dropped me off to my apartment and everything was fine. Then about a week and a half later, it was the morning time and I was taking Bentley out to go to the bathroom, and my neighbor, who I have many words to say about her. I do not like her at all. I'm just gonna say a little backstory to this actually before I say this. She has a Jack Russell and she never has her Jack Russell on the leash. And so I try to avoid going outside when that dog is out there because he doesn't charge at Bentley, but he like starts barking like really loudly and tries to get really close to Bentley. And I'm like, I don't like that. That makes me uncomfortable. And like Bentley is a friendly dog, so like he's obviously not going to attack that dog, but it's just like, I don't like it. I don't like that feeling, and I wish that she would stop doing that. And so yeah, that's a little backstory. That morning I went outside and I had Bentley on the leash. He was going to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden my neighbor opens up her door and the dog starts coming at Bentley, barking. I freak out. I tried to get him inside as soon as possible because that dog is not on a leash. I was trying to get Bentley out. His collar is a little big for him, so he slipped out of the collar. I was panicking about that. Then there was a German Shepherd across the road, and I don't think he noticed me, but just the presence of that German Shepherd like really scared me. So I was panicking from that. I was getting overwhelmed. I started breathing really heavily again. I was just trying to hurry up. My heart was racing. I tried to get back to my apartment. I probably made it about 10 steps, and then I grabbed onto the pole. I'm like, okay, I just need to catch my breath. Like I started kind of feeling wary again. I'm like, no, I don't want to pass out again. So I put my arm on the pole. I passed out. Next thing I know, my neighbors have me on a pillow. This was actually a really scary part because when I woke up, I had images just like flashing back and forth. They kept going this way. So they were just like constantly going like back and forth. It switched between, my sight switched between my neighbors, the concrete, the pillow, and Bentley. And those images kept going back and forth, like switching like every second. And that was really scary. And they're like, oh, we're going to call your mom. We have an ambulance on the way. And I was just trying to like get my mind to just calm down, like get those images to just focus on one. So then finally my vision started going back to normal. Then I saw that my neighbors were there. It was my girl neighbor and my boy neighbor, and the girl was like, Caitlin, are you okay? You just passed out. And I said, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, I have an ambulance that's on the way now. And then I told her, I'm like, I have my phone in my apartment. My apartment's unlocked. Can you grab my phone? It's on the counter, and call my mom. So she called my mom, but the ambulance came before my mom did. So I had an ambulance ride to Wyoming Medical Center. While I was at Wyoming Medical Center, that's when I spoke to my doctors down in Denver again, and they told me about heart surgery. And of course, I was really nervous. I was really scared. But I'm like, I can't faint anymore. Like, this is really scary. And it's like, my head was bruised from both times. And so I'm like, I can't, like, it might be messing up my brain. Like, this is really scary. It took me some time to go, but I talked to my parents about it, and I was like, okay, this is probably something that I really need to do. And so I ended up doing it. After I passed out the second time, I didn't go back to my apartment. I was with my parents for about a week because that's the earliest that they could schedule me for heart surgery. We went to Denver and I was supposed to have my surgery on a Friday, but then they had a problem with my insurance getting my surgery approved, and so they had to wait until Monday. And so my brother, my mom, my dad, my grandpa, and Christine, we made the most out of the weekend. We really had a fun time. We went putt-putt golfing. We went to Joe's Crab Shack. We went to the Cheesecake Factory, and that was actually closed, but it didn't really matter. So then we ended up going to this one place downtown. But we got cheesecake, but we didn't get dinner there, which was fine because we didn't go to the Cheesecake Factory for the dinner. We went for the cheesecake. And so we had a great weekend, and it just really, like, I'm like, okay, well, this is my last weekend to live. Like, this was a great weekend. I'm glad I did it. Oh, I forgot to also mention The week leading up to that, when I was at my parents' house, I had to go back on Tyvaso because my doctors told me that they weren't going to give me the surgery if I wasn't doing my Tyvaso again. So I had to go on to it. So I was on it for that week, and it did help me for that week. I was on Tyvaso for a short period of time after I got my IV pump removed because they're like, okay, well, that's the next step. It works great for me for a short time. It doesn't work long time. I think I was on like week 2, and that's when my breathing just started getting terrible again, like normal, my normal breathing. And so I'm just kind of like, it's kind of like, it's a good short-term fix, but it's not a good long-term fix. And really, my doctors don't believe me. My parents don't really believe me about that either. They're kind of just like, well, the doctors say that's okay. But I'm like, but I know my body. I don't know how to get that through to them that it really, for me personally, it only works a short period of time. That week, of course, I was on it. And so just only because I had to be, not because I wanted to be. Thought that I should mention that as well. I was also on oxygen 24/7 that week too because they really wanted to get my heart ready for surgery. This was also like just a really bad time for me as well. Like just that whole 2 months just were complete torture and chaos. I don't really know what to say. Like they weren't torture, that's the wrong word to use, but they were just like miserable for me. So that Monday, I went to the hospital. I got checked in. I had to like fill out the paperwork, the consent forms and everything. I had to get a COVID test, and I did want to include this in this video because I thought that this was really funny to say. They told me I had to get a COVID test before I got my surgery. So the nurse comes in, she's getting everything prepared, where they stick it up your nose. She goes, "Caitlin, is this your first time getting a COVID test?" And I say, "Yeah, it is." And she's like, "Oh, well, most people find this like really traumatic." And I'm like, what'd she just say? Like, I'm just trying to get this done and over with. I'm like, okay, like that's kind of really scary. So I got the COVID test, and it was painful, obviously. Like no COVID test is fun, but it was fine. I got over it. And then I told my mom afterwards, because I don't even remember if she was in the room or not, but I'm like, you probably should not tell your patients that the first time getting a COVID test is traumatic. Like, so we just had a great laugh about that. And so I did want to conclude that. It was funny. I'm like, what? Because it's the children's hospital, so they're used to working with kids. And I'm like, would you tell a child that? No, you would not. And so because my heart was in such bad shape, they had to put me down under a local, oh my god, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I pronounce it wrong every single time. Do not make fun of me. Anesthesia, that's what I'm going to say. Probably wrong. I don't care. They had to put me under very minimum sedation because my heart could not handle it, and they were afraid that I wouldn't wake up. So during my surgery, while they were placing a 6mm hole in my heart, I had to be awake during the entire time. Yes, you heard that correctly. I was awake while they were doing surgery on my heart. So I was laying on the operating table, and I had 2 nurses holding my hand because it was so painful. And they're like, "Caitlin, you're doing good. You're doing good. Keep going. You're okay. You're being so strong. You can get through this." While I had tubes that were like this, I don't even know if you can see it, this big, going in my legs, going in my groin. I had about 3 of them on each side, I think. I know I at least had 1 on each side, and then I have a few scars. So I think that I had multiple, but I don't have the scars to prove them because they weren't like as big as the ones that left me scars. And so I had tubes that big going up through my groin so they can place a little metal hole in my heart to help the blood flow through my body. If you want to watch like me go into detail about that, you can watch my I got heart surgery story, and that will go into full detail about that surgery because I honestly don't remember like the medical terms on it. When I first woke up, I couldn't move my legs for about, I think 2 hours, but I succeeded that because I fell asleep because I was knocked out. Like I was in a lot of pain, and I just wanted to sleep through it because that's my mechanism is just to sleep. So when I finally did wake up after my surgery, they're like, "Okay, you can move, but you have to be on your back," which was fine. So then I had to spend the night over at ICU just so they could check my breathing, and that was terrible. They had to come check on me every single hour, and they had to wake me up every single hour. So I got absolutely no sleep that night. So I'm lucky I had a little bit of sleep after my surgery, because I was not sleeping that night. They had to check my vitals, they had to check my sight, just to make sure everything was okay. The next day, I had bandages on it, and I had stitches also on it, and one of the, how do they say it? It wasn't, maybe a blood vessel. I'm not exactly sure. It wasn't scary, so like if that makes it, I don't know what it was called. But one of those like burst open, and so my whole leg was bleeding. I was going to the bathroom because I really had to pee, and I was standing up, and then all of a sudden when I stood up, because I was laying before that, like that was the first time I tried to stand up and go to the bathroom, and I stood up, and I honestly thought I peed myself because I just felt this warm sensation like going down my legs. No, it was a lot of blood going down my legs. So like I quickly sat down, and that just scared the pee right out of me. She was like, "Caitlin, do you still have to pee?" I'm like, no, I'm not trying that again. So then I used the bedpan to go to the bathroom, but I'm just like, no. So that happened. So one of the sites kind of opened, and then they just put more pressure on it and got the bleeding to stop. The next day I woke up, and then I went to the bathroom perfectly fine. I was actually pretty back to normal. I was also on 5 milliliters of oxygen during the whole time too. That's kind of why I was in the hospital for that long, just because they wanted to check my sides. They wanted to get me down to 2 liters of oxygen, make sure I was okay. And so then I got discharged from the hospital. They kind of talked to me more about the lung transplant. I said I wasn't ready because I'm not emotionally ready for a lung transplant yet. I don't know. I'm just not ready, and that's the truth. I got discharged. It was all okay. I actually got discharged about 2 days before the 4th of July. So that kind of puts you in the timeline for that. Yeah, May 31st, I passed out the second time. About 2 weeks later, I passed out the third time. About a week and a half after that, I got heart surgery. So now we're back to July 3rd of this year. After all those traumatic events, like I was really not in a good place. I was really happy that I survived the surgery. Just going into it, I was really nervous, but I also told myself, like, I can't have these thoughts. Everybody was coming up to me. They're like, "Caitlin, are you nervous? Do you want to talk about it?" I'm like, no, because if I talk about it, I'm going to start crying and I'm going to psych myself out. I just told myself, I'm like, no, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to survive. Like, no bad thoughts in my head, like absolutely no bad thoughts. When I went into my heart cath 3 years later, I had this really bad feeling. I'm like, I don't think the results are going to be good. And when I woke up, they're like, "Caitlin, you're so bad that you have to get an IV pump." So then this time around, I'm like, no bad thoughts. Like, we're going into this strong. We're going to survive. It's okay. You're going to be good. And that worked for me, and I was okay. After my heart surgery, I went back to my apartment when I was ready. And that was probably, I think, maybe 3 days after we got back to Casper. My mom kind of wanted me there. Then I went back to my apartment, and Colby stayed with me for a few extra days. So I was in somebody's care for probably about a week, and then that's when I went by myself. And I was okay when I had somebody, but then Colby was starting to pack, and I got extremely emotional. Like, I'm tearing up right now because I was so afraid to be by myself. Because it's not because I knew I couldn't do it. It was mostly because I was scared to take Bentley out to the bathroom, because I didn't want to interact with that dog at all. And I was just really scared. I'm like, I probably won't be like the best dog mom, but it was fine. And I was just kind of scared to be by myself, but I'm like, no, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. Just really try to avoid them. And that's what I did. And that's actually what I have been doing. And I still avoid that lady today. I didn't have a job for 2 months, and it was nice because I was really just trying to take that time to just live my life and just to enjoy life again, trying to get out and just do things. I couldn't work a job because I couldn't mentally or physically do that job. That's what they said. They're like, you're not able to work. And I did get a doctor's permit. or I did get like doctor's permission not to work, so I do have that in writing. I didn't quit my job at Papa John's, but I haven't been back. The story is that when I was there, we had a new manager called Autumn. I couldn't work for a month afterwards. So I told Autumn that, and then I went back down to the hospital because they wanted to do like a quick checkup just to see how things were going. And then after that, they're like, you can't work until October. So I'm like, okay. I was still in the group chats for Papa John's. This one person texted out, he was like, I'm not gonna make it tonight. And he texted the group chat, and Autumn was in it, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to talk to Brandy now because I'm not the manager. So I'm like, like something really, like, I don't know what happened. It was probably bad. I don't know. Like, Papa John's was really not fun to work at the last few months anyways, just because of the management, not because of Autumn, just because of everything that happened. All my communication was going through Autumn. And so after that, I'm kind of like, I don't really want to go back to that job. Like, after I got told that I wasn't able to work, I was kind of like, yes, like I was starting to not enjoy that job anymore. So I really wasn't like eager to go back to it. So I just honestly, it was just kind of like I never talked to them again. And that, like, it was probably bad to say, but that was the honest truth, because I was talking to Autumn. Autumn quit or got fired. I don't know. She was just like, I no longer work there. So then that's kind of when communication stopped. Don't get me wrong. I still had a pretty tough summer. I was prescribed a wheelchair. That sounds bad. That doesn't sound right, but I got a wheelchair. So I have been using that when I know that I'm going on trips, or when I know that I'm going to be walking a lot. I brought it to my cousin Barrett's softball game. That was the first time I really brought it somewhere, because I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to walk that far. And then I also brought it to, I'm trying to figure out, because I haven't really used it a lot, just because I'm still trying to get comfortable with people seeing me in a wheelchair. I'm comfortable enough to have people see me with oxygen, but a wheelchair is still like a different story. I have really bad self-image issues and self-esteem issues, so it's really hard to even go out with my oxygen. But the wheelchair was a whole different story, so I don't like my wheelchair, but I know I need it, and so that's how I like prepare myself. I'm like, no, you need it or else you're gonna get out of breath. Then I used it when we went to Yellowstone National Park, and then I also used it a few times during senior photos. Actually, during that senior session that I was on the track, I almost fainted again. So it was about a month after my surgery, we were on the track, and I all of a sudden just got really hot and really lightheaded, and I'm like, I know these symptoms, like I'm gonna pass out. I was sitting there and I looked over to Colby, I'm like, Colby, I'm gonna pass out, I need my wheelchair. And so he quickly passed out. I kind of told that multiple times because I was kind of starting to freak out and get myself worked up. And I sat in the wheelchair and he's like, Caitlin, calm down, you're gonna be okay. And I think that's really what helped me to calm down instead of hyperventilating. I closed my eyes and I was just like leaning my back towards him, and we were sitting there for, I don't know how long we were sitting there, but we were sitting there kind of until I was okay. And then there was actually a building next to the track, and it was in the shade. He's like, Caitlin, do you think that it would help you if you go into the shade? I had told him, I'm like, I don't know, but I think it might help, I don't know. And so he wheeled me into the shade, and then I was probably there for about 5 minutes, and that's kind of how long it took me, because I'm like, well, if I'm gonna pass out, at least I have my brother with me. Like, I want to be sitting down, so if I pass out, I kind of just like go backwards instead of standing up and then smack, nope, you fall into the concrete again. No, never again. My brother called my mom, and my mom went to that senior session. It was kind of funny having my mom show up. Luckily, I knew the girl, so she kind of knew about my heart problems, so I'm kind of thankful it was her, so it wasn't like a complete stranger that's just like, oh my god, my photographer like is trying to pass out on me. But no, so my mom came, she brought me some water, and I just kind of sat there until I felt okay again. And then after that, we just resumed our shoot and everything went back normal. I think after me passing out, that's kind of when my mental health started getting bad again. And I was kind of not mad at my doctors, but I was just kind of disappointed, because I went into that surgery because they really like truly convinced me that I wasn't going to pass out again, and that I wasn't going to feel those symptoms again. I was just really upset about me passing out because I'm like, this is not supposed to happen. Like, I knew it was probably going to happen maybe like a few years down the road or maybe a year down the road, but I'm like, this is not supposed to happen a month after heart surgery when the whole point of me getting heart surgery was to stop it. And so that's kind of when I was like, how am I supposed to believe the doctors and just have trust in them when I got the surgery? I got a hole in my heart to help me from this not happening again, and it happened. I just went into a really bad place. Like, I'm just like, it gets me so down because I battle a lot with this about wanting to fight and wanting to keep living. So I struggle between that and then just, why do I keep fighting? Like, I'm just gonna end up getting worse. Everything's just gonna get worse. And that's what really messes up my brain. And that's a constant struggle. Like, I struggle with that every single day. And that's kind of how I'm at now. Like, I'm having more bad days than good. For like the last 2 weeks, I've been crying myself to sleep every night. Just keep saying, like, I don't know why I try. Like, I'm just gonna get worse. So much has happened to me in like the last 3 months. This is the fastest I've ever gotten worse. So it's just really hard for me because, so May, June, July, August, and September, the last 5 months has been the absolute worst. I'm really struggling mentally and physically because I can't breathe. You guys can tell like how bad I am and how bad I'm hurting inside. Like I started out in the beginning of the video, I fainted twice, almost 3 times. I had heart surgery. I got a wheelchair. I got portable oxygen because I need it almost every single day. And that's just happened within the 5 months. Like that, the year's not even over. So I don't know how this year is gonna end. I don't know how much I can get worse. I don't know. I don't know. And that's what scares me the most because I'm like, if all this happened within 5 months, like how much longer do I really have? And that's what really scares me. I'm not ready for a lung transplant. I'm not ready for it. I don't know how much longer I have left. And that's what makes me the saddest. Right now, even though I'm struggling really badly mentally and physically, I'm still trying to remain positive. I do have my bad days, and I do have the days where I just feel like giving up and just laying in my bed and just saying enough is enough. But right now I'm really trying to push past that, and I'm just trying to enjoy life. The one positive thing about these last 5 months is that my photography has taken off, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that. Photography is my reason to live. Photography is my passion. Photography is what keeps me still going and what keeps me excited. The last few minutes have been like just me trying to catch my breath and trying to speak without crying. Kind of what I wanted to explain was how much photography means to me, because a lot of you guys know that I do really enjoy photography, but you guys don't know why I enjoy it. The one main reason I enjoy it is because it's something that I've had for my whole life. I got into photography when I was 11 years old, when I started noticing things were going bad, when I started like feeling different from my peers, and when things kind of started first slowly going downhill, and then now today where things are just not very good. Photography has just been one of my safe things that I've had, that I know that no matter how worse I get, like I'll always have photography. I'll always be able to sit in a chair if I need to and take photos. I'll always have it, and that's why it means a lot, because it's something in my life that I know will always be there. It won't go away. I lose a lot of things by having pulmonary hypertension, a lot. And one thing I have is my photography. One thing I have is my family. I have my dog, Bentley, and Cody, and they're the little lights of my life. I have my brother, my mom, my dad, Sarah. Those guys are really what keep me fighting and keep me happy. I just love all them. My mom, my dad, my brother, and Sarah are
my main people and the main people that really help me and that I can really just open up. Actually, I don't open up to them at all. I'm not that person to open up to people. That's why I have to make YouTube videos of just me crying, just to let things out. And I think that that's why I'm really emotional, because I've had all these thoughts in my head for a long time, and now I'm just finally getting them out. Back to the photography point about all of that, I didn't even make the point that I really wanted to. And it was that I can still like enjoy family events. Like when we go out to the boat, I can no longer surf. I can't go tubing. I can't really do a lot of things. I can't play volleyball with them. And so I think just being able to take photos of it is just my way of being a part of the experience. I don't know, like that's just what helps me, because I'm still part of the group. I'm just not physically able to do it, if that makes sense. Like I'm still there, and I think that's just what makes me really excited, is taking photos and making videos. You guys probably noticed that I've done a lot of vlogs lately, and that's just because I want these memories and they mean a lot to me, and I just really want to share the positive and also the negative things in my life. But I love my vlogs, and I know that people don't watch them. I know that I only have like 10 views on my videos, but that doesn't matter to me, because it's what makes me happy. Making videos and taking photos are the best things in my life. And Bentley, those are just the things that I enjoy, and so I'm gonna keep doing those. And nobody told me to stop doing that. I don't know, I feel like people are probably like, oh, why does she make YouTube videos? Does she want to be a YouTuber? It's like, no, I just want to vlog my life and vlog my family so I can have these memories. Because honestly, when I'm like this and I'm kind of emotional or upset, I watch my vlogs, I watch my old videos, and I love going through my old videos. I love seeing how much my family has changed, and I love seeing like how much we've grown up, like how much me and Colby have changed, like our faces. I've had my YouTube channel for 3 years now, and so just thinking back to like 3 years ago, like we had baby faces. Not really me, but Colby did. And then I just love like adding new things. Like right now I have a video of when I first got Cody, when I first got Pixie. Just all those little like family moments that I have are just really important to me, and I love them. And this is not what this video is supposed to be about, but see, when I'm really happy about something, I just want to keep talking about it. And so I think, see, my tears are away. I just needed to talk about my YouTube channel. But I'm really appreciated for this, because this is kind of my outlet and my way to express myself, because I'm terrible at communication. Well, I'm not terrible at communication. It's not that I don't like to talk. It's just that I don't like to open up, because most of my thoughts are really dark and are really scary. And a lot of people don't know what it's like to constantly feel like you've ran 3 miles. I mean, think about this. To my bedroom, to my bathroom is probably 10 steps. And by the time I get out of my bed, go to the bathroom, I'm out of breath. So that's kind of like to put things like really into perspective. I also did want to inform you guys that I have applied for disability, and I have applied for the SSI. I'm not really sure what that is, but how many 21-year-olds do you know that are trying to apply for disability? None. I don't know any. I'm one of them, so now you know somebody. Starting September 8th, so about 3 weeks ago, I got a job. So about a month ago, actually, I started a job at Summit Elementary School helping a girl with a disability as well. She has Down syndrome, and that's really important to me, because I've always loved little kids. As many of you guys know, like I've always had jobs that were related to kids. I worked at the rec center, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, daycares, all of that, but I really realized like I can't take care of 15 5-year-olds, or I can't take care of 15 2-year-olds. Like that's just too much, and I can't like physically do it. I got offered this job, and I was really excited because it's just working one-on-one with a girl who's in kindergarten with Down syndrome, and I help her throughout the day. So sometimes you can see me with oxygen because I can't walk from my car to the classroom. And so she has seen me with oxygen. Basically all the kids have seen me with oxygen, and they don't really care. It's still kind of embarrassing for me. Like when I go through the cafeteria to get back to my car, like I always kind of hide my face or look down or like look at my phone because I'm like, I don't really like it. Like I just feel like I'm being judged because like everybody stares at me because they're like, there's something wrong with her. Obviously I don't have Down syndrome, but I kind of like, to a certain extent, I know how she feels because I know how it feels to have people judge you based on your disability, based on just like how you look. All my life I've had an invisible illness. Nobody could really tell that I had a disease. I've gotten a lot of rude remarks about my handicap sticker that I had just because people didn't understand that I couldn't breathe, and that, yeah, I may be standing there, but what you guys don't know is my heart is literally pounding out of my chest because I can't breathe right now. So I've stopped, so I've taken a breath so I can just calm down and just get my breathing back to normal. It's amazing like how differently people treat you when you wear oxygen versus when you don't. Like having an invisible illness is really tough. And I've had an invisible illness for 13 years. Really, like up until about 2 months ago, I never wore oxygen outside. Never. There's some people that I don't want them to see me with oxygen. I've gotten really comfortable with people seeing me with oxygen, but that doesn't mean I'm fully like not feeling my greatest, because I hate the feeling I have with oxygen. I feel like people are judging me just inside, and they're probably not, but that's just me. It's really hard to go from having an invisible illness to having a visible illness. Just like people treat you so much different. Like I can't even explain it. I have people who now look at me and want to help me. When I went to the library the other day, I forgot my card, and she was like, "Oh, it's okay, I can just check you out now." And I know that like if I had my oxygen, she wouldn't have let me do that. She would have been like, "No, go back out to your car and get your card." Like I know that. And then just like people just seeing me park in the handicap spot, I'm not getting any judgmental looks because people are like, "Oh, she needs it, she has oxygen." Oh, that makes sense. I've been wearing my oxygen a lot more just because I can't breathe without it, really. Whenever I go somewhere, I always bring it with me. I think really the only time I'm not on it is when I'm in my car, and that's about it. Or when I'm letting Bentley out to the bathroom. But even then, some days I have to. It just really depends on how far I know I'm going to walk. The only negative thing that I've experienced with having oxygen is how hard it is to find a job when you do have a visible illness. When people can see that something is wrong with you. I have actually had about 3 job interviews, and some like the jobs that I should have gotten. Like I had one at Boot Barn I didn't get. I went in and I had a full-on interview and they never responded to me, and I thought that I for sure would have that job. I had 2 other job interviews that I didn't really want, so I'm not like too mad about me not having it, but I fully believe that I did not get those jobs just because I had oxygen. It's because they're judging me based on that. They're like, "Oh, she's probably not as good as somebody without oxygen," which they don't know that I always show up on time. I always do my work. I probably work harder than most people that they were gonna hire, but it's their loss. Like if you don't want me just because I have oxygen, then that's your problem. I'm gonna find a better job, and that's where I'm at now. My photography has fully taken off. I've had like 3 sessions a week, which is crazy to me because even at the beginning of the year, I barely had any sessions. I would probably book maybe like once a month, if that. I was just taking photos of like the nature or just family events. That's all I was doing. And then in the summer, I think my first senior session was about June 20th. And then after that, after I posted that photo shoot, I've just been constantly booking people, and I am extremely grateful for that. Like I'm so lucky that my photography has taken off when it has. Because I haven't had a real job, like photography is a real job, but just because I haven't had that like constant paycheck in my life, I was able to pay my rent. I was able to pay my car payment off just based off the money that I had made from photography. And like I previously stated, like I've been having about 2 to 3 sessions a week. It just makes me so happy. And I've had people come up to me and they're like, Caitlin, your photography has really gotten good. Like you have been doing so well. And I'm like, that's just because I've had a lot more experiences. Like people are actually booking me. I've had more opportunities to learn and grow. It's just moving a lot faster just because I've had so many shoots. And I'm extremely thankful for that, you know? Today, October 6, 2021, marks 13 years of me being a PAH warrior. As you guys can see on my shirt, this color is periwinkle, and if you guys ask me why my favorite color is purple, that is why, because purple is the closest to periwinkle you can get. Purple just makes me excited and happy, and it just reminds me of all the struggles and all the pain that I've been through. My life has been really tough. It's been different from a lot of people. You know, a lot of my friends are getting married and getting engaged or getting a house or getting like a really good job, and then there's me and I'm like, I just got heart surgery a few months ago. I have to have a wheelchair. I have to have portable oxygen. So that's kind of how I'm like, I don't really relate to anybody. And now you guys know why, because what 21-year-old do you guys know, or any, like, doesn't even matter if they're 21, but how many people do you know that need all that stuff? I think in my family, there's probably like 3. My Papa Ace, he has oxygen. He's 94 years old. I'm 21. So yeah, when I say like I'm an 80-year-old put inside a 21-year-old body, you guys now know, because I relate to a lot of older people. People are constantly telling me, oh, you're too young to have this disease. Yeah, I know I am, but unfortunately you don't get to pick and choose when you get it. I'm actually, just from being in groups with people that have chronic illnesses, like most people don't even get diagnosed. So to me, I'm extremely thankful that I have at least gotten diagnosed with it, because most people don't get diagnosed until they're in their 20s and 30s or even 40s. But no, I got diagnosed when I was 8. So as always, like this is just my story, and this is just my personal experience. I know that your guys's are different. Like if somebody that has pulmonary hypertension is watching this is just my journey. I know that everybody's experience is different, and I just wanted to share mine. That is it for today's video. I hope that this was really eye-awakening for you guys, just to see what I've been through the past 5 months. Like when I say I've had a tough year, I've had a tough year. I've had a tough 5 months. And it's only going to get worse, and that's the scary part, really. But I'm not going to cry again, so I'm not going to even go back into that. Today marks 13 years as a PAH warrior, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting. We'll see how long I have. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support you have given me. Bye, warriors. Peace.